Pop culture loves the idea of the untouchable criminal mastermind. We picture them playing a brilliant, high-stakes game of chess with detectives, always 3 steps ahead of the law. But reality is rarely that sophisticated. Take Ted Bundy. He managed to escape from prison twice, evading a massive, nationwide manhunt. No brilliant profiler cracked his case. He was captured because he decided to drive a stolen car erratically at 1 o'clock in the morning, right in front of a patrol officer. Or consider Willie Sutton, one of America's most successful bank robbers. He slipped out of custody 3 separate times and evaded the FBI for years. His run ended when a commuter recognized his face on a New York City subway. Sutton drew attention to himself by standing near the turnstile and arguing with a conductor over a 5-cent fare. The perfect crime is an illusion. No matter how meticulously a plan is constructed, criminal minds inevitably fall into one of 3 specific traps of their own human error. The first trap is the physical environment. Interacting with the real world always leaves a trace, regardless of how intellectually superior an offender believes they are. In 1924, university students Nathan Leopold and Richard Loeb spent months planning an untraceable murder, driven purely by arrogance and a desire to prove their intellectual superiority. Their airtight alibi crumbled within hours of questioning. Leopold had carelessly dropped his custom eyeglasses, a specific hinge design sold to only 3 people in Chicago, right next to the body. As forensics advanced, that physical signature shrank from dropped items to microscopic traces. In 1992, detectives in Arizona suspected Mark Bogan of murder, but lacked direct evidence placing him at the scene. Investigators noticed a scraped branch on a Palo Verde tree where the body was dumped. They collected seed pods from Bogan's truck and used plant DNA to prove those specific seeds came from that exact tree, the first time this science was ever used in a U.S. trial. This trap also ensnared Gary Ridgway, one of America's most prolific serial killers, who evaded police for nearly 2 decades. Investigators eventually linked him to the crimes using tiny flecks of industrial paint. Ridgway worked as a truck painter, and those microscopic particles transferred from his clothes to his victims without him ever noticing. You cannot conquer the physical environment. There are simply too many microscopic variables for any human mind to control. The second trap is the limit of human attention. Sustaining a high-level criminal facade requires flawless, constant vigilance, a biological state we simply cannot maintain. Jeffrey Dahmer maintained a horrifying double life for 13 years, murdering 17 people completely undetected by local law enforcement. His capture didn't come from brilliant detective work or a sudden forensic match in a laboratory. He lured Tracy Edwards to his apartment and managed to get a handcuff on one of his wrists. But when Dahmer stood up to use the bathroom, he momentarily loosened his grip. In that 1 second of distraction, Edwards punched him, sprinted out the door, and flagged down a passing police car. Horrific streaks of evil are ultimately undone by basic biology. The mundane distractions of everyday life eventually crack even the most guarded exterior. The third and most fatal trap is the narcissist's blind spot. Modern offenders often possess egos so large that they actively do the police's job for them. Social media is now a leading cause of criminal capture. Take Colton Harris Moore, a fugitive who became an internet sensation while stealing planes across the country. He successfully fled to the Bahamas, but he couldn't stop interacting with his own fan pages. His compulsive need to post online updates left a digital breadcrumb trail right to his location. The ultimate victim of fatal ego is Dennis Rader. Known as the BTK killer, he terrorized Kansas and successfully evaded capture for 31 years. In 2004, craving attention, he began taunting the media again. Growing impatient, he sent a letter asking police a shockingly naive question. If he sent them a floppy disk, could they trace its metadata, the hidden digital footprint embedded in the file, back to him? The police simply lied and said no. He trusted them, sent the disk, and investigators tracked the file data directly to his church computer, ending a 3-decade manhunt in a single week. The extreme arrogance required to commit a horrific crime acts as a blinder, preventing an offender from recognizing their own glaring ignorance. So, what is the true psychological pattern connecting all of these historic captures together? This diagram shows the baseline risk assessment of a healthy mind. It helps explain the central paradox of these captures. The very traits that make a criminal dangerous, narcissism and supreme confidence, are the exact mechanisms that guarantee their downfall. In a healthy brain, self-preservation keeps you careful, but in the criminal psyche, ego expands until it completely overwrites basic logic. We imagine brilliant detectives cracking impossible cases, but reality gives us a different picture. Monsters are taken off the streets because they cannot resist a Facebook like, they refuse to pay a subway fare, or they believe a simple lie about a floppy disk.